Breaking news, Notre Dame tight ends coach John McNulty getting a promotion to go to Boston College as the Eagles' new offensive coordinator. To talk about it and react to it is Mike Singer from blueandgold.com, and with me is Patrick Engel, our beat writer over at BGI. Patrick, as this news initially broke Sunday afternoon from Pete Thamel of ESPN that the Boston College was targeting McNulty, what was your initial reaction to seeing that?
Well, the staff turnover continues, doesn't it? And now that this has happened, that means Tommy Rees is going to have an entirely new group of offensive position coaches under him from 2022 than he had in 2021. And certainly not something that we expected to say or you would have thought when everybody that first week when Freeman was named the head coach said, "Hey, I'm staying," and you figured the continuity would be there. But that's sometimes just how these things go and how these dominoes fall. This is one put in motion by BC's offensive coordinator leaving for Pitt, whose offensive coordinator left for Nebraska, who made a change there. So, sometimes these dominoes take a little while to play out. And, here we are 2 months later from when Brian Kelly took the LSU job and 2 months from the week of all the staff members saying that they were, going to stick around here. But, you know, that's a long time in coaching cycles and in the coaching carousel. Things can come up, and this is just the latest instance where one of Notre Dame's position coaches has gotten a chance to get a promotion.
Yeah. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up on this video. Dollar for 1 year of premium access over at blueandgold.com at our new home on the On3 Sports Network. If you sign up before Wednesday, we will also throw in a free Founders Club hat, and 10% of your lifetime subscription will go towards the Loose Emoji Memorial Scholarship Fund. Rest in peace, the GOAT of Notre Dame athletics. Patrick, I mean, as you kind of look at the turnover on the staff, and I post about this on our blueandgold.com message board, Quinn and Alexander seem more like a Notre Dame decision to move on from those guys. Polian, special teams coordinator, just didn't really fit, more of a Brian Kelly guy. And then you have Lance Taylor getting a promotion in the ACC from position coach to offensive coordinator. Same thing with McNulty. Elston, we believe he was passed over for the DC job, and he goes and takes a position at his alma mater. So when you look at each of these individually, they all make sense. It's not any like, well, Freeman was a bad hire, I want to go to another school. But still, it's things when you look at it collectively across the board. I don't know. Any thoughts, Patrick?
Yeah, I think it's a case where both things can kind of be true here, where in the grand scheme of it, yeah, it's a tough break for Notre Dame that it couldn't keep that continuity that it looked like it was going to have. And that was kind of a pitch of hiring Marcus Freeman, and one advantage that Freeman would bring in his first year, being able to keep players on the roster and prevent some kind of mass transfer portal exodus, which has largely happened, and being able to keep the staff intact, which it looked like that was going to be the case for all the guys that Notre Dame wanted to bring back. Now, not so much, but like I said, there are things that come up over the course of 2 months in promotions, and yeah, as you said, Mike, a lot of these are moves where, okay, it's a promotion from a position coach, or it's a fresh start after getting, a little flustered or not being considered for the defensive coordinator spot in Mike Elston's case, or in Brian Polian wanting to go with Brian Kelly. I think you figured once Kelly left, all right, somebody might follow him there. And well, Polian made sense as that kind of guy. And ultimately, yes, it's not as much continuity and more of a test on Marcus Freeman's ability to build a staff than maybe you would have liked to have looked at or seen in his first offseason at head coach. But you'd much rather be here where these guys are commodities and in command than having to have cleaned out an entire staff because it wasn't performing well or you had a bad season like we saw Notre Dame do after 2016, or when you had just all kinds of guys leave because of staff, butting heads or things like that. So that's not the case. And those are the ones where, they start to raise the alarm bells of, turmoil, or those are the things that come when you haven't had success on the field. These in promotions in these cases, yeah, that's going to happen when you're consistently putting up 10-win seasons like Notre Dame has recently.
Yeah, Notre Dame has lost one player to LSU, and that was Jay Bramblett, who decided he was transferring, 2 or 3 weeks before the Kelly to LSU news broke. So with McNulty out, I think that room stays intact. I mean, the only guys he recruited from that tight end room, not including Kane Barong, who originally committed under Chip Long. It's just the two true freshmen, and Eli Raridan, who bleeds blue and gold with. I've been calling him a double legacy, considering his dad played for the Irish and his grandfather coached under Lou Holtz in the strength and conditioning program, and then Holden Stays probably ends up at Notre Dame regardless who the coaches is. So that's kind of a positive thing about Notre Dame, is that a lot of kids pick the Fighting Irish because of what the school is. I mean, Patrick, they seem to, I mean, every school is going to lose kids to the transfer portal, but it seems like Notre Dame loses less to the portal. Would you say that's accurate?
At least this offseason, there hasn't been one where it was like, okay, alarming or cause for concern, or one where you look at it and say, huh, I wonder what compelled him to do that. Most of these where you could say, all right, they're graduate transfers this year who want to move on and try to play somewhere else, or undergrad guys who, figured they might have a better shot at playing somewhere else. And that's not all, like, look, there's a lot of time in the offseason left here. We can still see surprises where Jordan Johnson didn't transfer until last May. So you never know. It's the cycle kind of keeps going here. But yeah, I think what we have seen play out is Freeman's ability to keep the roster intact. And that really speaks to the impact he had on players before he was named the head coach, as far as, guys who could have transferred laterally or declared, or like, starters, and guys who would be real notable losses in terms of snap count and everything. Haven't really seen that. So that part of the Freeman continuity play has definitely played out so far. And we heard Isaiah Foskey tell us earlier this month, like, man, if Freeman wasn't the coach, I don't know how many guys would have gone, or how many guys would have went to the draft, or other guys would have hit the portal, just because you wouldn't know. So yeah, that part of it has, I think, gone as planned, or as a lot of Notre Dame fans might have expected it to once Freeman got hired.
I think part of our point here is just like, yes, there's been some coaching staff losses, but like you said, it's a signal of a healthy program when those coaches are moving on for promotions, and the sky's not falling. I mean, I would say so far with Harry Hiestand, one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. Chancey Stuckey is revered as a big time coach. I think these are Al Washington, a great coach and recruiter by all accounts. So I mean, I think Freeman and Reese have done a pretty good job with these hires so far. So, three openings left: defensive coordinator, running backs coach, and of course now tight ends coach. Now, Patrick, don't want to put you on the spot too much here, but as you're kind of just doing your initial research on some names Notre Dame could go after here, does anyone really stand out to you?
Well, there's a couple interesting ones who've got some sort of McNulty track record, as far as having worked for a lot of guys, having had some experience, who are out there available right now. John Donovan, the former Washington offensive coordinator, former Penn State OC and tight ends coach, obviously didn't work out at Washington. He was part of Jimmy Lake's staff that was let go, but he's available out there right now, hasn't been hired yet. Tim Brewster from Florida. He was there with Dan Mullen the last couple years, former head coach at Minnesota back in the late 2000s, coached at North Carolina recently. Really a veteran coach there, but known as a pretty good recruiter from his stops at Texas A&M and at Florida State, and now at Florida. Those are two names that I think are interesting, and given their prior experience at the position and overall coaching experience, but also that the fact that they're available right now, and you wouldn't have to go, sway them away from another school. They're looking for jobs too.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys watching. Hit that thumbs up. Go to blueandgold.com for all your Notre Dame football, recruiting, basketball, both men's and women's, and hockey coverage. Got you all covered there over at blueandgold.com. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time.